Greetings. In the business, there's one thing is a constant that's called change. And sooner you adapt that change, that will keep you a competitive edge as compared to your competition. And if you decide not to adapt that change, you will be irrelevant. And many of those companies have been a history, by the way. The change is everything, adapting a change. For that purpose, I have my guest, Burchett from Chicago. He is the expert on this, has been helping companies to adapt the change with the speed of light almost. I'm going to share his screen so you can see who he is. The co-founder of Accelerator Intelligence, LLC. He has been doing this almost like 2004. Please join me to welcome Ray Burchett from Chicago.
Mohammed, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, I started out life as a CPA with Arthur Andersen and had the opportunity to go to the trading floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And leaving a corporate environment that was pretty quiet, if you will, versus what I call a hyper-dynamic environment, the trading floor, really forced me to speed up my decision-making process. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what happens in a trading pit, especially one the caliber of the S&P 500, imagine all the best soccer players in the world playing on the same field at the same time, chasing the same ball. That's the level of competition. And I realized pretty quick that if I could figure out how to break down the beliefs and behaviors that were necessary for success in that environment and share them in a business environment, those that would take the time to learn them would really gain great advantage. In other words, their thought process would really accelerate and they would be significantly ahead, anticipating the client, customer, team, organizational needs, really have a great competitive advantage. And as we know, since the late 90s, when you had the internet and the PC imploding, a lot of people have done incredibly well with their organizations because of their ability to adjust, and a lot haven't done too well. That's why engagement and culture is really such an issue, is because the thought leaders don't really understand what I call the improvement problem, the ability to speed up the evolution of the professional and the organization fast enough to remain relevant. So my insights from that hyperdynamic environment of the trading floor and understanding corporate culture, put those two together, I've been able to really provide a pretty powerful solution for keeping professionals relevant.
Thank you. That's great. So you come from a very diverse background of being a stay competitive. With a great analogy of the stock exchange where every best player is playing at the same time and trying to grab the same piece of the pie. So based on your experience, and also you shared with me before this interview, you are also doing for a corporate world and also for a government, like intelligence agencies and everything else. So this is such a proven process. So it works really.
Right. So we've proven it in the trading community. And then in 2015, we had the opportunity to prove it in the intelligence community. And we're just going through, fits and starts. We create a lot of transparency that senior leadership isn't always comfortable with. And, one of the big things we need to realize about the folks that defend the status quo, they feel threatened in losing their power if things change. And the other thing that's going on is that, unfortunately, a lot of folks in leadership positions just can't get their head around how fast change is taking place. And they've really given up and adopted the mindset, hey, you know what, I'm just going to get what I can as long as I can and, not worry, or they don't believe that they can make the adjustments because, again, they're just chasing, trying to catch up. And the last thing anybody wants to do is step back and get organized in a way that's really going to secure their long-term viability. And, this isn't taking a pill. This isn't doing a 2-hour seminar. It's about a 20-hour commitment over about a month. The work can be done self-paced on demand, but it takes a chunk of time. And if you're really ambitious, you can do it over a weekend or in the evenings in about a week's time. But no pain, no gain, right? This is a big problem. And if
Yeah.
you're not willing to be a professional and step back and say, hey, you know what, I've got to come to a new understanding, gain new perspective if I really am going to get the outcomes, secure the outcomes I desire. And when people work with us, that's what we empower them to do.
Thank you. Let's dig deeper into this a little bit. So based on your experience, Ray, what are the top 3 missteps companies they need to avoid to grow their business?
Top of the list is looking at technology as a solution when it's really just a very powerful tool we tell to go fetch, manipulate, and present information that goes into, feeds our decision-making process. At the end of the day, it's that human context, that awareness for what to select, how to apply and adjust the technological power available to us. And we're just bombarded with cultural messaging, advertising as well, that says, hey, get this app, get this software, apply this technology, and it's the solution you're looking for. No, it's just a tool. What it comes down to is our creativity, our imagination, integrating our accumulated skill, knowledge, and experience that gives that human context to make the best choices. And the more we get away from that, the further behind we fall. In other words, the more we abdicate our own ability to judge, the more reactive our behavior is. In other words, we're just waiting to be told what to do, waiting for the data. And what successful professionals, they have a vision, they've shared it, they've socialized it, they've had it validated, they've had support for it. Then they start making a plan, and then they start implementing, and they let the data tell them how they're doing. They don't wait for something to react to. They're staying ahead. And that is the biggest trap professionals and organizations are in right now, looking at technology as a solution instead of that human context to stay ahead of everything. And
okay,
then
that's the first one. So that's a big misstep. It's a great one. So I'm looking for 2 more.
Right. Okay. So the second one is not recognizing the need to make that formal commitment to speed up their brain's ability to filter, process, and apply information. If you made a list of 10 things you wanted to accomplish, you might have making better decisions on there, but you're not going to have learn how to make better decisions. And so bottom line is, the best way to get those 10 things that you want is to learn how to speed up your brain's ability to filter, process, and apply information. You get to better information, analyze it faster, make more out of it. You're going to be proactive, stay ahead, anticipating the needs of others, seeing opportunity, and seeing the gaps in your own skill, knowledge, and experience that you need to fill. So you put those 2 things together, you're going to get to a much better place in a short period of time.
Third one.
And the final is that stop listening to the talking heads and the writers, the talking heads on television.
Yeah.
And the writers. Most of them are not qualified, or they're biased, or they're purposefully deceiving, exploiting, manipulating an audience for an ulterior motive. And I could talk all day about this. The good news is they just did a study, about 72% of the people recognize that now. So look, trust your own curiosity, do your own digging, trust your own reasoning. You're going to develop a much higher level of awareness that's going to keep you ahead and, again, get you to a much better place in a short period of time.
Wonderful. That's amazing. In fact, I have done those mistakes myself. So
yeah, a lot of people do, and I'll have a conversation. But, well, a big part of what we do in our training is we raise awareness for just how, to what degree we're manipulated. What all that manipulation is doing is repressing the behaviors that we really need to evolve at a higher rate to remain relevant. And it's a real eye-opener. And once people see this, they're like, oh my God, why didn't I know this sooner? Because it's like a switch flips, and now they start to see how they've been played, put at a disadvantage, controlled, and now they start taking back and getting to that awareness where they can really remain proactive and start getting ahead and staying ahead.
Great. So based on your experience, now we know your missteps to avoid. And so what are the top three success secrets? Only three success secrets to grow your business based on your experience as you worked with so much corporate world.
Well, it's really one, and then I'm going to talk about the three benefits that it brings. Okay. And so the one thing that really helped me when I figured it out in trading, and this is what led me to create the consultancy that I have now, is how to develop and support high intuitive function. And all that really is a process that strengthens behaviors causing the brain to filter, process, and apply information most effectively. And when you do that, three real powerful things happen. The first is you minimize risk for bias in how you perceive, comprehend, and project information. And you can imagine as a trader, having bias can be catastrophic, if you will. And when we have bias in business, it closes us off from the sensitivity we need to really best anticipate opportunity. So again, minimizing risk for bias. The second is it neutralizes development and performance risk. And this is really important. And that development and performance risk is defined by three blind spots. The first blind spot is the difference between what we believe we know and the actual depth of our knowledge. The second, how we perceive our behavior and the reality of our conduct. And the third, our inability to know how our behavior impacts the efforts of others. If you think about that for a minute, any one of those can be fatal to a career or an organization. And then the last benefit, and again, just as powerful as the first two, when we learn how to develop and support high intuitive function, strengthen those behaviors that cause our brain to filter, process, and apply information most effectively, we end up blocking out distraction and conflict and causing knowledge and information to flow to us. I call it the dynamics of success. In other words, our intentions are so transparent. When people interact with us, they're so much more respectful because they know we're all about doing good stuff and helping them, and we're open when they bring us problems. And the way they say thank you for that is when they have an opportunity to share something with us, they're right on it. So we just get all this good stuff coming to us. Our awareness keeps going up, and not only does that benefit in our own client-customer relations, but again, it makes us that much more effective in supporting team members, associates, the organization, lifting everything up.
Thank you. Great. When I saw you say there's only one, I asked for three. I say, oh, only one. He's not going to give me two. But now I see it. When you expand on that one, it really makes a perfect sense. It's all based on get rid of all the junk coming your way.
Right. Well, again, if we learn how to speed up our brain's ability to filter, process, and apply information, that applies to everything we do. And what happens is, and again, this is how we've been conditioned, we look at everything at a functional level. In other words, when I was a CPA, it was GAAP, FASB, the tax code. I had to know that to pass the CPA. I go to Anderson, they taught me their best practices. So all functional stuff, right? But nobody asked the question, okay, what are you doing so you'll have the high level of awareness to match those best practices, adjust those best practices, stay ahead in their application for what the client needs? And that's where everything misses out. We have this mindset that we're entitled to do the bare minimum, and people should be lucky we did the bare minimum, and we should be rewarded lavishly for doing just the bare minimum. No, We want to outperform, we want to exceed and delight in ways not imagined, not only for the benefit of the client, but that's where our professional and personal fulfillment come from. That's what brings us great joy and happiness, that energy that keeps elevating our level of awareness to the next spot. And you go through this process, and in a short period of time, you understand it's way easier to be great than good, because now we're getting through the day a lot faster, have a lot more energy, and we go home, we've got more time, and it's just much more pleasant in everything that we do.
Thank you so much, Ray. Ray, let me ask you a little bit direct question about your business. How you are growing your business right now? Because this is all about growth. So we want to ask about you.
Right. So as you said in the introduction, I've been really doing this since 2004, and what I have proposed is so radical, if you will, because it goes against higher education and professional and organizational development. They haven't thought about any of these things, and the last thing that any of them want to do is admit that they missed the boat. And I tell them, hey, it's okay. You just didn't have that benefit of an immersion in a hyperdynamic environment like I did for 20 years. So it has been a slow go, but if you talk to someone now, they've got three real pain points. There's recruiting, there's retention, and then there's ethics. And we take care of all three. That's why our training is called Ethics and Performance Training. But when you go through it, leaders realize this is absolutely the best thing they can do to improve their entire performance cycle. And professionals realize it's absolutely the best thing they can do to secure the outcomes they desire. So what we're able to do now, as those relationships have been nurtured, just as an example, in the last 24 hours, I've had 2 of those relationships come back to me and say, hey, you know what? I think we're ready to do something.
That's great.
So it's bringing up those relationships and then certainly building on the stuff that we've done within the intelligence community.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. How the Growth Hacking Show community can support you, Ray?
Well, basically, if you come to the website, theotherai.com, again, theotherai.com, simple to remember, look around and you'll be able to learn more, and you'll be able to help yourself and people in your network. They'll really appreciate the education. And if you like what you see, if you have a pencil or a pen, you could write this down. I'll give you a coupon code that'll save you a bit of money. The coupon code is capital T as in Thomas, capital G as in growth, capital H, capital S, and then the number 300, 300. So if you use that coupon code TGHS300 at checkout for ethics and performance training, it'll save you a nice chunk of change, and you can get started.
Thank you so much. As we wrap up, Ray, what would you say as a final word?
Again, trust your own curiosity, your ability to not improve incrementally, but to improve significantly. And that's what we have to do. When we really take time to understand how fast, rapidly advancing technology is increasing the volume and speed of information and events, we cannot stay on this linear development path. We have to go to an exponential path. And here's the really exciting thing. Our brain has so much untapped potential. And if you go through this process, you'll understand how easy it is to get to it and how much more becomes possible. So this is the best gift you can give to yourself, those you care about most, improve your value creating ability for your organization. But we have to get past this mindset that we can only improve a little bit or that we've improved enough. No, we've got to be able to go from here to here. It takes about 20 hours of time to learn the path, but once you do that, you will be absolutely amazed at how easier things get, how much more you're capable of, how much more fun you have.
Yeah, this is all about having fun. Thank you so much, Ray Burchett, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Show and my entire team. We really, really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique, your host of Growth Hacking Show, from signing off from Atlanta, wishing you good luck, good sales. I do our path across again with another amazing guest. Until then, all best wishes.
Thank you, Mohammed.